Hi students. All right, so I'm going to go over the concept of one-point perspective today, and then I'm going to also show you two-point perspective and how you can translate one-point perspective into two-point perspective in order to make, like, say, a stack of boxes or a cityscape where you're looking at the corner of a building down two different streets. But first I'm going to go over the basics. So if you've had one-point perspective with me before, you know that you have to use a vanishing point, that all receding parallel lines would converge on that vanishing point. It doesn't mean they actually touch it. It means that they line up with it. So if you were doing something like a railroad track, it would touch it. It would go all the way to the vanishing point. But if you're doing something like a hallway, it probably isn't long enough to get to the vanishing point. It'll end. And I'm going to show you how to do a hallway here. Parallel, obviously, they go on and on next to each other and never touch. Perpendicular, they touch at a 90-degree angle, and receding is moving away from you. So I'm going to use these terms a lot. Okay, so I'm also going to angle this down so hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but I'll also hold it up for you. So to start, you have to really put a vanishing point on your paper. I'm using a Sharpie so you can hopefully see it. It's there in the center. When I lined things up to the vanishing point, because I'm doing a hallway, I'm not really going to touch the vanishing point. I'm just going to line things up with it. I'm also going to do this upside down so that you can see it. You know what, I'll do this first. So I've made two walls on either side of my hallway, and the ceiling lines go to the vanishing point because they are receding, and then because the floor line is parallel with the ceiling line, it lines up to the same vanishing point. So now we have our walls. If this hallway were a dead end, I would touch the new ceiling to these points. But I'm going to make a hallway where you can turn left or right. So I'm not going to actually connect this ceiling. I'm going to leave the wall further away so that now you could turn left or right. So far, I just have two parallel lines. Because they're receding, they line up to the vanishing point, and everything else is perpendicular, so it stays straight up and down, or parallel to the side of the paper, or straight across, parallel to the top or bottom of the paper. If I want to add a door, the sides of the door are straight up and down, but the top and bottom of the door go to the vanishing point. Now, if I had a pencil, I would erase some of this door frame, but I don't. So you're going to have to kind of deal with the fact that there's a line at the bottom of the door that probably wouldn't be there. Same thing with a window. Now, the vanishing point is intended to be eye level. So the window should not be too low or too high. It sort of sits in the middle. And then again, the sides of the window would stay straight up and down. There's the framework for the window. And then we can add some details to it. I'm not going to take too much time to make it crazy, but you're going to get the idea. Okie doke. Now, for the one demo, I did lights, the ceiling lights. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of tile work for this. So let's say this has a tile floor and they're like sort of square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make lines, and they have to be the same. So actually, let me show you something. I'm going to mark along the wall a little bit so I know where to start all of my tile work. Just a tiny little dot so that I know that they're equally distant. If I were taking this very seriously, I would measure along all of these lines. See? Now, I line up from the vanishing point to each one. This particular one is going to bump the wall. This one is going to clear the wall. They sort of radiate out like the rays of a sun because the center is the vanishing point. Also, if I were taking this very seriously, I would go to the edge of my paper. The only reason I'm not doing that is because I'm using a Sharpie and I don't want to have to clean my table. And one more that would bump that wall. Now, the further away the tiles are, the closer together they are. So these lines are going to get wider as they approach the bottom of the paper. So remember, things that are further away from you are smaller, and things that are closer to you appear bigger. These are definitely not going to look square when I'm done, but you'll get the idea. Looks more like the ceiling, but you get the idea. All right, so this is the 1-point perspective. Upper school, we're going to apply this concept to a 2-point perspective. Sit tight.